Are you looking to optimize your home studio for virtual presenting and you're wondering if Rode's Streamer X is a good fit? Well, today I'm going to get into what I love, what I like, and some limitations so you can decide, is this the right investment for your home studio? Let's get into it. The Streamer X is really a combination of a few things, which is the beauty of it. It acts as an audio interface, it can also capture your video feed, and it has smart pads. Now let's dive into a couple of these terms in case you're not sure what I mean. The first is if you have a microphone that uses an XLR cable like you see here, you obviously can't just connect that directly into your computer. So you need a go-between, and that's your audio interface. When it comes to video capture, if you have a DSLR or a mirrorless camera, such as this Sony here, if you want the best quality, you're going to use a capture card in order to transmit that amazing quality. Rode put these things together for one compact device that allows you to plug in one cable to your computer and you can connect your camera and your audio and you can control them using these smart pads. For audio options, you are not just limited to an XLR microphone. You can also connect with a headset that has a microphone built in, or you can connect wirelessly to Rode's wireless microphones. Let's take a look at my live feed here of the interface, and we'll sort of walk around the interface. For reference, my microphone, so this microphone here, is connected right now using the XLR cable, but I have a different camera. So this is going to a secondary camera, so not the one I'm looking at right now. And that matters because I'm going to show a demo. Over here, let's start here with these two keypads. This is for your microphone and this is for your camera. It's very easy to see, very labeled very well. And if I want to mute myself, I can do that right here. And same with the camera. It's not going to shut off my camera because I'm on a secondary one. But if I do that, I can tell just by looking how red it is that my camera is off, and I can just hit that and turn it back on. To me, that visual is so helpful to know, is my feed going through? When it comes to audio, there are three options, and you can toggle between these options using this dial by pressing on it. So if I press on this, you can see that it toggles and it's color-coded between each source. Right now, I am using the microphone that is connected here using my XLR cable, and I can see that it's pink, but it will change colors depending on what source you are using. You can also use these dials to adjust. If I want to adjust my levels down or up, I can do that here. And this, if you have a headset on and you are monitoring your audio, you can press this to mute your monitor, you can press it again to put it back on, and you can play around with the amounts. And as I turn this, you can see that the blue starts going higher, or you can turn it down and the blue starts going lower. It's not the same as the sliders on something like the Rodecaster Pro or Rodecaster Pro 2, but this is so compact that there's a trade-off that has to be made. If we look over here, we can see the smart pads. So each of these, they are color-coded. You can change the colors, you can change what they do. And right now there are some voice effects.
For example, this voice effect, and it goes brighter when it's on.
And I can turn that off again. I also have
a voice disguise
that I can turn on and off. I also have some sound effects. You can use these to toggle between the different pages, and you can have up to, I think, 16 different pages. But because I have to memorize these, that feels like a lot that is going on, and I would probably limit how many you actually use. Right now, this is in the standard feature, but there is something that's called presenter mode. So let's take a look at the software and I can explain what I mean when I say presenter mode. The Streamer X uses a fairly simple software called Rode Central in order to set up your device. And here you can see along the top, I've got three different areas: audio setup, device configuration, and customized smart pads. And also on the bottom half, you have what's called a quick setup. So you can toggle between streaming, presentation, video call, gaming, or you can do a custom setup. Let's take a look at audio setup. If we click on audio setup, you can see the three different inputs here for audio, and you can toggle using the top to toggle between those. And I can adjust my levels both for the output, what you hear, and also for monitoring. So maybe if I am monitoring through a headphone and I don't want that to be too loud, I can unlink these and I can drag the monitor down to have that at a different level. The other thing I can do when it comes to audio is actually add some processing. So if I open the settings, I can adjust my levels here instead of using the dial. I can also have some processing turned on. So here I just clicked processing. These are on, depth, sparkle, punch. You can start to change these, and I actually didn't find this very intuitive. I was trying to figure out how to change these. You can either hover over it and use the dial on your mouse, or you can drag up and down and that will change your levels. You can also turn off processing if you don't want to have any on, and click that again to turn it back on. And then you do have the option to get a little bit more advanced. And so you can dig into things like having a high pass filter or a noise gate, a de-esser. I'm not getting into that today. We're going to keep this simple, but you do have the option to adjust these just like you would on a Rodecaster Pro. Now, if we go, these are the other levels which you can adjust. We're not going to go in those for the sake of time. I just want to focus on the fundamentals. If we go back for device configuration, really basic, I can adjust the brightness when my buttons are off and when they're on. So when you saw the example of me turning on or off an effect, it changes the brightness. So that's that. And then if we go and do customize smart pads, this is where you can go into what's called transfer mode and you can adjust them. For example, if I toggle over here, I actually added a song. This is a copyright-free song that I can have on here and just play. The other thing you can do, which I was playing around with yesterday, is I've got another copyright-free song that I might play in the background. And then on this mixer, I have a fade. So you can change this. Do I want to fade in and out? So if I am playing this song here, and then I click fade, it will fade in or fade out. And this is a really nice feature if you want some music to come through your microphone, but then you want to fade in or fade out for talking. You also have functions like the censor button, ducking, which will focus on your voice, so it'll lower everything else that's not your voice in the microphone. If we look through, let's go on one of these, we can see we can add sound effects. So you can actually upload a file and it will save to the device, drag and drop, and you can toggle, do you want this, if we pick a song, am I toggling this on or off? There are different things. Let's go to this button here. I can say, do I want to toggle it? Do I want to just hold the button down to play it only when I'm holding it? And just a one shot. So these are different options you have for the buttons. For voice effects, doing it again, let's go here. If we go to voice effects, you have a robot voice, disguise, pitch. You can also add reverb, echo, or do a megaphone. So you can add different voice effects to these keypads. There's also the mixer, and the mixer, this we saw before with the sensor, fade in and out, and ducking. And then you have MIDI options, which I'm not going into in this video, but it can connect you to control other things with your Streamer X, but that's a little bit more advanced. The thing I want to focus on is if you look here and you see streaming, and then you've got, it tells you all the different features of what is going on for your output and also your monitors. If you change it to video call, it's going to adjust these slightly of where the input is going. And let's take a look at presentation, because Rode did decide to have what's called presentation mode. If you are someone who is using slides to present, this is actually going to change your SmartPad to presentation mode. So instead of having those sound effects, it's actually going to adjust it. So now you can see I just turned it on. Now everything is white. Over here, if we look at the live view, everything is white. That's because I'm now in presentation mode. So presentation mode, this is how it works. Whether you have PowerPoint, Keynote, Google Slides for a Mac, or for Windows, it will customize these keys so that the top one here is to start your presentation. You can close your presentation. You can have a blank slide for either black or white, and you can just toggle between your slides. So it turns it into a remote control for your slide presentations. This is a really nice feature if you are someone who wants to do presentations and you want to have this set up on your desk. You can switch into presentation mode. You can choose which one. If you use Keynote, mostly PowerPoint, Google Slides, obviously there are some limitations. It doesn't have every single type of slide presentation, but it's got the basics that many people use. And then you can simply use these keypads in order to control your presentation blank, start, etc. So that is a really nice feature that they have added. And then you can turn that back off, and then you see that the keypad has gone back. So you have that multi-purpose use that is built into the software. So who is this for? Well, I think Rode sort of tipped their hand if you take a look at the quick setup options. They had streamers, gamers, people doing video calls, and also presentations. And the last two are really where I come in. Because if you are someone who is regularly on video calls and you're doing virtual presentations, this definitely is a helpful device. But I would add on another layer. I would say this is for people who are ready to make an investment in their home studio, meaning they are looking for an elevated quality of either audio or video or both. So when you are at the point where you said, I'd like to upgrade my camera or I'd like to upgrade my microphone and I really want those quality levels, that's where this comes into play. And so I would say whether you're using one of those, video, audio, or both, then I think it's time to start looking into something like this. It doesn't have to be this. You can decide if this is the right fit for you. But I really think that is an important distinction. If you are not ready to invest in a camera or a microphone, definitely this is not going to help you. Conversely, if you are someone like me who already has a fancy camera and you already have invested in a microphone, but I currently have been using a separate capture card and I've been using the Rodecaster Pro, which if you know anything about my studio setup, I can't even reach it from here because it's so big. So I'm interested in the Streamer X because I want one device that will connect a camera and my microphone, and it has a much smaller footprint. So in my eyes, that is who it is for. So what do I think? Well, let's go over some of my loves, likes, and of course there are some limits to this device. The first one is the size. So the footprint, that is so well worth it. And before I recorded, I took a picture of my desk. You can see the size on the right here. It is so small. And for reference, you can see some of the Stream Decks, but I love the footprint. This is amazing. The other thing is cable management. The fact I can connect a computer and a mic, and then there's only one cable to connect to my computer. I love that. Now, if you're wondering about this, the camera you can see beside my computer, that is the device that's currently connected. So what does that actually look like? Well, this is the feed for the secondary camera. So right now I am talking into the Sony ZV-E10 for anyone who's curious, instead of what's in my teleprompter right now. This is what the feed looks like. I've got a micro HDMI cable connecting from the camera into a regular HDMI into the Streamer X. So this is the video feed because I did want to make sure that I showed you what it looks like. Okay, another thing that I love, aside from the port management, is I do love that they have included a presenter mode. I would almost put it in the like because you have to go into the software to actually change. It would be really cool if there was a quick way to change between your regular smart pads and the presentation mode. But I think it's great that it's not just about advancing the slides, it also can start and end a presentation. I don't know about you, but watching someone try to find the button to start a presentation can be physically painful at times. So making this easier is honestly a pretty great thing. As far as the likes go, I would say I like that I can add sound effects, and I like that I can add music and play that through my mic source. Remember though, if you are using something like Zoom, you have to turn on an original sound in order for it to actually pick up the music. Otherwise, it's going to just focus on your voice. It's going to cut out any music, possibly sound effects. So that is something that you want to consider with your sound effects. Now, the other thing is audio processing. That is something I put it in the like category because I just don't know all the ins and outs yet. But I think it's amazing that they have this option that you can really start to fine-tune your voice. If you are investing in a great microphone, you also want to make sure you sound great because your settings are going to be different depending on your voice. So taking some time to learn those different features and adjust your audio is a wonderful thing. Now for the limitations, one of the biggest limitations that I thought of right off the bat was that you cannot plug in a USB mic into the Streamer X. It's just not an option. There is no port for that. That to me is a missed opportunity because there are a lot of really great USB mics that are out there. So right now, the only audio sources you can use are XLR, wireless, or headset, and not all wireless. You could use Rhodes wireless because I tried to do my own wireless and it did not connect. That is a missing the mark, and I'm a little bit upset that that is something that happened. Another limitation is the software. I find the software pretty basic and they say intuitive. I don't find it all that intuitive. And sometimes it becomes non-responsive. I've had to close it and restart it again. That hasn't been great. So I'm hoping that some future updates are going to change that. Another thing is that they have a secondary software called Unify that they tell you when you set up your device. Right now it is only for Windows, and they have a beta for Mac, and I haven't really played around with it too much, but that does seem like a better option. From what I can tell in my research, it also has some limitations. So I think that's something where it'd be great if Rode can focus on making some improvements on the software, just the software. I would just love to see it a little bit better. Another thing that I notice is when I am monitoring my sound, so right now I don't have anything connected, but when I have connected a headset so I can actually hear all of the audio, I love that there's no latency, but I can tell if there is a voice effect, I can tell if I'm playing music, etc. However, when my headphones are in, there's just kind of a low level, kind of static hum. So every time I take out my headphone, there's so much relief because of that, just little low hum. I'm going to probably reach out about that because I've seen some mixed experiences online, and I'm hoping that that is something that is not always the case. And if you have a Streamer X, let me know in the comments if you find that there's just kind of always a little bit of that background noise, because that to me is a distraction. And also, I wish that you could save custom settings. So if you really do customize your sound in the software, it'd be nice to have some presets of saying, I'd like to save this and have multiple ones. I know most people probably set it and forget it, but the fact that when you switch to one of the quick settings, it erases your custom settings, that to me is just kind of disappointing. Honestly, I really think that Rode is onto something with this device, and I feel like the addition of a compact device that is a capture card, audio interface, allows for audio processing, and the smart pads is really something that many people, it will fit their home studio, especially if you are investing in a better camera and microphone. I think this is a really helpful tool, but I'd like to hear from you. Do you have one? Are you going to buy one? Does this miss the mark for you? But overall, this is a tool that potentially could help you to take your virtual workshops, webinars, and courses to the next level.